Okay, we're live now, Chair, if you'd like to make a start.
Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the executive meeting, last one of the year, 22nd of December. Everyone's finishing for Christmas soon. It's virtual meeting, as we know. The first thing is to go through apologies for absence. I don't know whether we have any. Do we have any apologies?
No, Chair.
I see Janet's got a hand up there.
Yeah, can I just make a comment, Chair, of how surprised I am at the unnecessary amount of paper used in the executive reports for this meeting. There's 600 pages. Thank you, Chair.
I think that's a really good point, and I think that a lot of the reports that are in here should be available in hard copy on request. You know, especially we'll go into this, but we have far too much information that's handed over automatically, and some of it is detail that should be available on request or only shared electronically. Yeah, the good point. Thank you.
Can I just come in on that, Chair?
Yes.
Can I just make a suggestion that we all get the papers for the pre-exec, that once that is being done, that we keep those papers for the exec, and then they would only need to send out anything that's had a change.
Okay, I think that's a good idea too. I would also go a bit beyond that, to be honest, Chris, and I would suggest that I don't think all of the information in here needs to be printed out. I think a lot of it is just background info with loads and loads and loads of detail. Detail is important, and people who need it can access it. I think that's what we need to do, not just hand over every single piece of detail to everyone automatically, and certainly in hard copy. Okay, thank you for those bits of input. Declarations of interest. Anybody got any declarations of interest they want to share or raise? Questions about that? Okay, something I'll raise for me is a couple of companies I'm connected to own some land or a building near the transporter bridge, actually on both sides. I don't believe for a second they will be affected in terms of profit or loss by us discussing the bridge, but I thought I would just mention it. Okay, I guess everyone's seen the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody want to raise any issues with the minutes of the previous exec meeting? All right, good. So we go straight into the business, which is item 4. It's Dorothy Davison, the exec member for Adult Social Care and Public Health. I think Dorothy's responsible for all the huge amounts of paper, or her reports are. So Dorothy, you're in on the naughty step today. So you're going to discuss item 4, which is essentially Adult Social Care COVID-19 Winter Plan Update.
Yes, I'm sorry about all that paperwork, Chair. I got it myself as well, and I thought, I did read it. So it made good reading. So I'd like to present the Adult Social Care COVID-19 Winter Plan Update. I want the executive to note that the Department of Health and Social Care publication of the 18th of September 2020, titled Adult Social Care, Our COVID-19 Winter Plan 2020 to 2021, and the 13th of October announcement of designated scheme with the Care Quality Commission of premises for people leaving hospital who have tested positive for COVID-19 and are transferring to the care home. I'd like to present this. I do hope everybody's read through it, Chair, and if there's any questions, both Eric and I are here to take any questions on this.
Okay, thank you for that, Dorothy. Any questions from members, first of all? From exec team, first of all? Okay, that's good. Any questions? Oh, sorry, Anthony, please go ahead.
Just a comment to recognise the hard work that's been put forward by all of the teams directly linked to adult social care throughout the last 12 months. Do you know, the of all departments, I know Dorothy and Eric's department have been the most stretched in relation to their response. It's been amazing to see how quickly they reacted to the pandemic in the earliest stages, and how effectively they've looked to protect some of the most vulnerable and elderly of the town. So I think it must go on record that we should show some gratitude to that department and to thank them for the hard work that they've given to the town over what has been a very challenging 2020. So thank you to all involved.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, absolutely. We should definitely make a note of that and should go in the minutes. We're really grateful to Eric and all the staff and Dorothy's involvement too, but just their phenomenal response to COVID earlier in the year up until today as well, and obviously for the next couple of months. Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other questions or points from exec members? Okay. Any questions or comments from other councillors on the call? Okay. In that case, it does say here, I think, Dorothy, you said that this was to note. I thought I heard you say that. But it says here that there is a decision to be made. Is that correct? Do we need to vote on this, Sylvia?
Sorry, Chair. No, it's to note.
Just to note. Okay, fine. So all the exec note that. We've all heard it. We've all had the papers. Thank you very much. Next one is number 5, which again is Dorothy Davidson, Middlesbrough Leisure Indoor and Built Facility Strategy.
Yes, this is a building facility strategy. Now, as I read through, I'm going to follow up with some detail, and I'm going to say BFS instead of building facility strategy. The purpose of this report is to seek the adoption of the BFS to provide a source of reference for the council with regards to decision relating to indoor sports facilities in Middlesbrough. The BFS was undertaken following Sport England's methodology with the underlying principle to protect, enhance and preside facilities. The BFS have audited indoor sports facilities in Middlesbrough. This has broadly identified both quality and breadth to these facilities. The BFS have identified a number of objectives that Middlesbrough may wish to focus on. Following these include swimming provision and access to swimming, increase the use of school sports halls, increase provision for netball, ensure that facilities contribute to Middlesbrough's health outcomes, consider further expansion of complementary health services in our near leisure facilities, continue to work with local sports club and community groups to help facilitate meet their needs. The recommendation of this report is that the sport and leisure indoor building facility strategy is adopted by the council to provide a source of reference for the council with regard to decisions relating to indoor sports facilities in Middlesbrough. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dorothy. That's great. And this is actually something that we're going to approve and adopt, I think. So there'll be a vote on this. Any comments, questions from exec members? Mika, yes, please. Is that your hand up? Yeah, please go ahead.
It was just really to highlight that the report found that in Middlesbrough the general quality of facilities is above average, and I think that's really important to note.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, we should know that. We should minute that comment. And any other comments or questions from exec members? All right, good stuff. Any other councillors on the call that would like to comment or question? No? Okay, that's good. We go straight to a vote then. So we're going to vote on whether to approve and adopt the Middlesbrough playing pitch strategy. Do any of the exec members not wish to approve and adopt? Please pipe up if you do not. Okay, that's clear. Does anybody wish to abstain from this decision to approve and adopt? No, okay.
Andy, that's the next one, the playing pitch one. We're on the indoor.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. This is the Middlesbrough Leisure Indoor and Built facility. I'm really sorry. Really sorry, yeah. So the Middlesbrough Leisure Indoor and Built facility strategy, nobody wishes to vote against that. Just to be clear again, for this one, does anybody wish to abstain? Okay, so item 5, the Middlesbrough Leisure Indoor and Built facility strategy goes through. That's great, thank you. And the next one is the Middlesbrough playing pitch strategy, again from Dorothy Davison. And this decision will be to approve and adopt as well.
Yes, I'll use the same policy as I did before and use PPS as playing pitch strategy rather than continue saying it. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of Middlesbrough's playing pitch strategy with a view to its adoption by the Council for use as a point of reference for decision pertaining to Middlesbrough's playing pitches. The report notes that the PPS consulted with a range of partners, internal, local, regional and national, and following Sport England's methodology with view to protect, enhance and provide playing pitches. The report identifies the aims of the PPS as to provide part of evidence base to continue to the local plan, recognise the importance of sport and physical activity and how these should be recognised in the Council's Development Regenerations Plan, and provide an evidence base to review sport pitch provision. The report notes that the PPAC recognised the relationship between the Council's house building programme, the playing pitch provision, and provides methodology to ensure the interests of both are met, and the PPS should be used as the evidence base to guide investment into playing pitch facilities from capital receipts. The PPS has outlined a number of recommendations for the Council to consider to protect, enhance and provide playing pitch strategy provision in Middlesbrough. The recommendation of the paper is that the Executive approves the adoption of the Middlesbrough playing pitch strategy for use as a source of reference in decisions pertaining to Middlesbrough's playing pitches.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. Anybody on the exec team wish to come and ask questions? I see Chris Hobson would like to ask. Please go ahead, Chris.
Not a question, actually, Andy, just a comment, really. Just to say I welcome this, Dorothy, that we should be looking at the provision because of all the houses that are going to be built over the next few years. We need to look at things like this very, very carefully to make sure that we do have enough provision in the town, especially for the young people who would obviously go out and play football on a regular basis. And we really do need to make sure we have enough pitches to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good points. Anthony?
Thank you, Chair. More points to be raised as opposed to questions for Councillor Davison. I totally support a strategy looking at making sure that we get it right in relation to sports fields going forward. I believe personally and historically that the local authority have sometimes stripped these facilities out of communities, and I can speak from my own ward. And in the late 80s, Teesside Park was born on the edge of the Ayrson ward, which seen sports fields that had been there for many, many years taken away from the community. And through decades of promises around new sports facilities coming back into the ward, nothing is yet being delivered. So what I would like to suggest is that the areas that are identified to be facilitating these new fields, those that are in need and reach out communities. Sometimes we find central points of the way forward, but sports fields, I don't believe it's the case. They need to be set within communities for families to access and for young people to access. In addition to that, I think we also need to be looking to protect the current sports fields that we have in and around the town. And I know there's been a number of ongoing issues with Mill Hill, for example, where that is a sports field that is readily accessible. And I think we need to be a lot more clear in terms of how we set use for certain fields and the accessibility issues that are directly linked. I know there's been a lot of tension within the community, and especially from Cleveland Juniors Football Club around the damage that they continue to experience on their space. So yeah, I totally support the strategy. I genuinely believe we need to make sure we hit the right wards and get these fields to the areas that need them most. And we definitely need to start protecting these spaces so people can continue to use them for decades to come. Just wanted to make those points, Chair. Thank you.
That's great. Good points. Thank you, Anthony. Anybody else on the exec wish to speak? No? Okay, good. Sorry.
Just add, Andy, I thank both Chris and Anthony for those, and I will take them on board and go back. And when houses are being built in the area, maybe it's something we should definitely look at every time we build a new site. Thank you.
Yeah, great idea. Okay, thank you. Any of the councillors present who wish to ask a question or make a point relating to this? No? Okay, great. Now this is something that we need to vote on to whether to approve and adopt the Middlesbrough playing pitch strategy. So any exec members who wish to vote against? Any exec members who wish to abstain? Okay, that's carried. That's good. Thank you. That's the Middlesbrough playing pitch strategy approved and adopted. Then on to number 7, the exec member for communities and education, Mika Smiles, and it's to talk about the virtual school interim annual report.
Thanks for that, Andy. So our virtual school, in simple terms, is a group of our local authority staff who look after the educational needs of our children in care. It's got its own head teacher, and she's here today, Victoria Banks, and it's also got its own governing body, which I'm a member of. You'll all have received a copy of this report, and it just gives an update on the virtual school and the progress that's been made by our children in care. And it also features the school's response to COVID. So the work of our virtual schools more important than ever, particularly given our improvement journey in children's services. And it's really vital as corporate parents, which we all are as councillors, that we have really high aspirations for our children in care. At the end of the last academic year, we had a cohort of 577 pupils. And as well as the usual responsibilities of the virtual school, which is producing personal education plans, they're called PEPs, for each of our children, there's been a lot of work gone in COVID-wise in terms of making sure that each of our children is remembered and loved throughout this really difficult period. And there's loads of stuff in the report that shows what's been going on in that regard. The Department for Education's not actually publishing the exam results for the last academic year, so we can't put them within this report. But we are aware of how each of our children has performed in the various exams through discussions with the schools. And the results were obviously based on teachers' predictions and mocks. And I can say that our children in care have performed better actually this year than they have in the previous 3 years. So this report is just for noting. If anybody's got any questions, then I can try and answer them, or I can hand over to Victoria, who is far more knowledgeable than me on this. But thank you for letting me go through that.
Thank you, Mika. That's great. I can see one exec member wants to ask a question. Dorothy, please, what would you like to say?
Yes, doing a fantastic job, Mika, and Victoria. The thing is, the government's just brought out an issue with regards to children not going back to school when they actually should. And they're going to have to do the classes virtual. Have we got that provision for our looked after children in place?
Victoria, would you like to come in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Is this in regards to the return in January, the first return? Fantastic. So what government has said is those children who are vulnerable, which would be our looked after children, are to return as normal. So at the moment, there is no plans for any of our children to do online only. And that's something that we will also keep an eye on.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that reply, Victoria. Any other exec members with a point to raise or a question? Chris Hobson, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that I welcome this report and the fact that it shows that we are really working hard with our vulnerable children. And I do appreciate all the hard work that's gone in from Victoria on this. I do know you know, sometimes these things are very, very difficult to do, but through the COVID months as well, it's been extra difficult. And to see progress on these children is just, or with these children, is just absolutely phenomenal. So thank you, Mika, and thank you, Victoria, for all the hard work that's gone in, and the teams that has gone in, you know, that have put the hard work in as well.
Great, thank you, Chris. Well said. I'm sure we'll minute that. Any other exec members wish to comment? No? Okay, that's great. Any other councillors present who'd like to raise a point or question? No? Okay, that's good. That was just for noting, wasn't it, that one? So we all note that. Thank you very much for that presentation. On to the next point, which is number 8, which is the exec member for the environment, Dennis McCabe. And Dennis is going to talk initially about the additional highways capital, which we're going to vote on.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Chair. This is a report for recommendations for additional resources for the investment strategy. Highways England gives a guidance that principal inspections should be carried out every 6 years. We have currently 100 structures that need this principal inspection, and another 98 require a general inspection. The remediation works are in excess of Middlesbrough Council's available highway maintenance block funding budgets. So this report is brought forward so we can inspect our structures, which are bridges, culverts, etc. across the town, and it affects every ward. And that will bring us in with the guidance of the Highways England. This work and the investment in this will be for the year 2020 to 24. If anybody's got any questions, I'm open, and Jeff Fields is on the line for any technical information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dennis. Any exec members? I can see Chris Hobson first of all. Please go ahead, Chris.
Just once again, a comment just to say that I'm glad this has been brought forward. I think our bridges, etc., have not been looked at for a number of years, and I think they are now absolutely desperate to be looked at before any further accidents or injuries happen. And I just welcome this report, and thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions, comments from exec? That's great.
Question on it.
Yes, sorry, Ash. I didn't know you had your hand up. Sorry.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, Dennis, we obviously have the unique situation with the A66 here, and obviously that adds massively to our problems that we have with funding this. Is there plans to go back to Highways England to look at the funding structure in the way that that's done with the A66 right now, or are we just going to carry on going forward the way we are?
Thank you, Councillor. It's a bit of an oddity, really, because as you come along the 66, as you hit the border of Middlesbrough, when you're in Stockton, that belongs to Highways England. You come into Middlesbrough and it belongs to us. We're now in negotiations with Highways England to adopt that road for themselves, but we're talking with central government. This will be a long, long process. So as part of this funding, we need to, until that happens, we will need to maintain the A66 to a suitable standard. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Ashley. Any more questions, comments from exec team members? No. Okay, thank you. Any other councillors present who want to comment or question? No. Okay, that's good. So the exec going to vote on this additional highways capital. Does anybody disagree with the proposal? No. Does anybody wish to abstain? No. Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. That was Dennis's additional highways capital being approved. Number 9 stays with Dennis McCabe to look at the Lower Ormsby Beck. Lower Ormsby, that sounds posh, doesn't it? Who invented that name? I've never known any part of Middlesbrough called Lower Ormsby, but here we go. Lower Ormsby Beck Nature Reserve.
Thank you, Chair. The reference to Lower Ormsby, it is Ormsby Beck, so it is the lower part of it as it goes into the River Tees.
Oh, I see. So it's the lower part of the Beck. It's not a new name for an area that the state are trying to make it sound posher. Well,
we're trying to make it sound posh, but there you go.
All right.
This is a report coming in for the adoption of this lower nature reserve down on the A66 Neither 6 Meadows. The designation, get it out, twisted tongue. The designation of the site is also supports the Council's emerging green strategy in 2 main areas: sustainable manage and develop green spaces and land and nature. This site has been designated a nature reserve, and the report is for approval from the executive. There's 2 options for this. I'm asking for the option 2 to be taken forward. Option 1 is to take on areas 1 and 2 on the map, but we're at option 2 on the map. If you look at the map, the site 1 is where the nature reserve is, and on site 2 there's already a road infrastructure in place for commercial use. So we are asking that site 1 will be the nature reserve if approved today. Obviously site 2 will then be put up for tender for sale. The road structure is in place, so there's no additional costs needed there. I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Just a point from me, just to clarify. Sorry, Ashley, 1 sec. Is to make it clear to everyone, I think as you're driving off the A66 and you've got Riverside Stadium, what we're saying is that the land on the left would become the nature reserve and everything on the right would not. I think that's right. Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. And Ashley, did you want to speak up there?
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic report, Dennis. Thank you for this. And I have to put a special mention into one of my residents in North Ormsby, Colin Conroy. What a fantastic gentleman, and the amount of work that this gentleman has done to actually make sure that this comes forward. This is a good 7-10 years worth of work, research, working with the environmental agency, obviously working with previous councillors and bringing it to us and the mayor himself, because it is just such a fantastic project, and it's fantastic for the area because we don't have anything like that in central Middlesbrough, something that's so special and unique. I've walked that way for probably 20 years now, and I walked that site with Colin, and his knowledge and the things that he pointed out to me and showed me, wild orchids growing that again I just walked past, species of butterfly and creatures. It is just an absolutely, it's just beautiful. So yeah, thank you, and a big thank you and a massive thank you to Colin Conroy for bringing this forward. I would like to say, I personally would like to see the commercial site being used for the nature reserve as the wider part of it. But one thing I think I would like to say on it is, we make this site work, and if that site's still available to do that, I would really like to see that be brought forward to a future executive once we've got this done and took forward.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. So I'll need to clarify something there when we come back to it. Anybody else in the exec team want to raise a point or question here? No, okay, good. Separately, I will actually just on Colin. Was it Colin Conroy? Was that his surname, Conroy? I'll just say personal thanks to him as well. I had a couple of online meetings with him, being introduced by Ashley, probably almost a year ago. And yeah, I mean, the work he's put in, the thought, the care, the passion, it's just fantastic. And just, I think we owe a big amount of gratitude as a council, as a town, to Colin. So thank you very much, Colin Conroy. And please could that be minuted, and maybe even some communication issue to him to say thank you on behalf of all of us. Do any of the councillors present wish to comment or question on this? Okay, that's great. Thank you. So we're going to go to vote. Before we go to vote, I want to clarify something. Is that Dennis asked us to vote, I think, on option, the option that included just plot 1, so the land to the left. If you drive into the Riverside from the A66, the land on the left, not the land on the right. Ashley said that he would like to see the land on the right incorporated, but I'm suggesting that what Ashley means there is that at a later date, another meeting, we consider that, not at this meeting. So this meeting, I think we're going to vote on.
That's exactly what I meant. Yes.
Great. That's great. Thanks. We're going to vote on Dennis's proposal and Jeff Field's proposal that the area to the left, I think it was called plot 1, it becomes the nature reserve. Does anybody disagree or want to vote against that? Anybody abstain? Okay, that's carried. That's gone through. That's great. And if we could make a note that we will, as an exec, relook at the land on the right as to whether that should be included at a later stage. That's something we can look at. It's obviously something for discussion. It's been identified as commercial uses that could bring income. So we'll have to balance the financial and economic gain to the town versus the potential environmental gain. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. The next point then stays with Dennis. It comes on to number 10, which is the Transporter Bridge future operation.
Thank you, Chair. Next report is to approve the implementation for the initial repair programme and funding requirements. Also, the consultation for proposals for future use of the bridge. All the information is contained within the report. Has anybody got any questions, and we can go through that? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I mean, this has been discussed, I think, you know, internally, externally, on social media, on mainstream media. I'll just add a little bit to what Dennis has just said, in that basically this magnificent and genuinely unique structure. There are other transporter bridges, but none quite like this. It's genuinely unique. It's special, and it says who we are. We're all very proud of it. We're being asked here to actually do two things. One is to approve urgent repairs. It is a life or death hazard. Stuff that falls from it, and that could kill people and cause huge damage to other structures. And we're also being asked to consider a consultation, to launch a consultation on future uses of the bridge, which could be a medium-term process that we do with the public. But the first thing is, the bridge and the town have been let down in the past. They've been let down by, whether it was the fault of the consultants or the engineers or the politicians, I don't know. But despite the great efforts of council staff, the bridge, despite having spent millions being spent on it in recent years, it is a death trap. So this is about, do we allocate £700,000 of new money now to make it safe and launch a consultation with the public about how to make best use of this structure going forward? Any exec members want to comment or raise a question? Okay. Any councillors present who want to raise a comment or ask a question? I see Janet would like to ask something. Hi, Janet. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just say that I was surprised that when the Transporter Bridge was discussed at the recent Corporate Affairs and Audit Committee meeting, that Councillor McCabe had no comment to make, particularly as this is part of his portfolio. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you wish to respond, Dennis, or just move on. It's up to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to respond to that, Chair. I asked to join the meeting. I was sat there and nobody asked me if I was involved in the meeting. There was other visitors in the meeting and I wasn't asked by the chair if I was involved in the meeting, and the meeting progressed without me actually being asked a question. So I sat there and listened to everything that was said. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from people? No other councillors want to speak up? Okay, so we're going to go for a decision on allocating the money to make the transporter bridge safe and make sure it's protected for the next. It's lived 109 years. For the next 109 years, get off to a good start. Anybody disagree? Anybody on this call disagree with that? Any members wish to abstain? No. Okay, so that's carried. That's done. Transporter bridge gets its money to make it safe and start the next 109 years of its life. Thank you very much. And that takes us on to option 11. And we're going to have Chris Hobson here is going to present a report on the calculation of the council tax base 2021-2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is something that comes to executive every year, and then it will go on to council. And this report is for noting and for endorsing. So I would like the executive to note the content of the report. It is a really good detailed report, so I'm not going to go all the way through it. I'm sure everybody's read it. And I'd like the executive to endorse the council tax base for 2021-22 as 34,484. I would also ask that the executive endorses 2,157 and 1,088 as council tax bases for the parishes of Nunthorpe and Stainton and Thornton, respectively. That's for 2021-22 also. And then I would just ask that the report is presented to council on the 13th of January. And following that, the approval of the Police and Crime Commissioner and the Cleveland Fire Authority and parish councils are notified of our council tax base. So it's mainly for noting, but I would like you to endorse the numbers, please. You're on mute, Andy.
Apologies. Thank you, Chris. Any exec members who wish to comment or ask a question? Okay, any other councillors present who wish to comment or ask a question? Okay, that's great. So what we'll do is we'll have an exec vote on whether to note and approve Chris Hobson's request here. Does anybody wish to vote against that? Any exec members wish to abstain? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much, Chris. On to the next point, which is point 12, the exec member for regeneration, Ashley Waters, to talk about Stainsby Country Park, formerly known as the Stainsby Detailed Master Plan.
Thank you very much for this. I'm really excited to present this report, as I think it's something that's absolutely brilliant compared to what we've seen going previously. So what I'm looking for today is the executives to approve the revised vision of the Stainsby scheme as set out within detailed master plan, and the consultation process required with stakeholders and the public to allow the council to adopt the detailed master plan as a supplementary planning document. Now, we'll have seen stuff going into the press this week about it, which obviously there's going to be good and bad said, but I think personally on this one, the movement that we've come from to developing a country park, something that is a first for the North East, something that is just going to be absolutely fantastic and set the stage for Middlesbrough development going forward. And it's already been discussed in local planning in groups this morning about how we carry this on in the area and what we do to. This is a site that is going to be 54% green space. it is a site that is going to it's just going to be a fantastic area for the people of Middlesbrough to come and live. There's nothing like this in the area, and it'll be an attraction to go hand in hand with the urban development that's going on in town and the people that we want to see come to Middlesbrough. So the main point on this that I think we need to look at from the previous one is the fact that we've took Mandale Meadow, the council-owned piece of land there. We've took this out of that master plan to protect that for the residents and community of Middlesbrough. It is something that is precious and is something that does need to be preserved. And I think what we've done with this is we've moved forwards and done the very best we can to preserve as much of that meadow as possible. The other points on this site, it's being developed with the future in mind. It has infrastructure, the transport's been thought about, consulted with, the schools, the community hubs, the facilities that are going to be there before the estate goes in. The planning for this is going to be there before the estate goes in, and I don't think that's something we've seen a hell of a lot of go on in the whole of the Tees Valley area recently, over the last few decades. So this for me, it's a massive positive. It's a fantastic design. We'll be releasing more details on this tonight. I want to wait till exec to get any more information out on it, and I'm more than happy to take any questions, discuss with people in the room.
That's great. Thanks, Ashley. Before questions and comments on this, there's something that I meant to mention actually in the last point, the Transporter Bridge, is that because we're going to be going out to consultation, we're going to be forming a group, like a working committee, and we're going to be inviting some people, but other people can apply, and if they wish to get involved in this group. And the founding member is a local historian who's very passionate about the Transporter Bridge, called Tosh Warwick, and Tosh is going to be is the founding member of that group. So we really, really want the public, people who work in Middlesbrough, people who live in Middlesbrough, people who are just passionate about the bridge, to get involved and play a role. And that can be informally with comments as part of the consultation, or you can possibly consider getting involved with this working group or submitting ideas to them. So I just want to make that clear. But to get back to the Stainsby Country Park, thank you for that overview, Ashley, really great. Any comments from exec members or questions? A few, I think. So Anthony first, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Ashley for bringing this report forward. I just need to start by going through a little bit of the history of why we are here now, because I think some of that's currently lost in the paper that's presented, and not because it should be in the paper, because the paper is presenting the consultation going forward. Before we were all elected in 2019, we were all very aware that there was a sensitive issue with building over at Mandale. This is an area that falls directly within my ward, an area that I've known and loved all my life, and continue to use that space. So it's only fair that I share with the public and the rest of the room the efforts that have gone in so far in relation to this particular piece of work. And now from minute one, day one, the senior officers and the executive member for this portfolio will know that this is pretty much the first door that I booted through. Forgive the way I've described that, but I was very pressing and very demanding to the local authority on a number of points that we've managed to get through, and we can see presented in the paper. So the first was, we needed to prevent the proposed plans that were set in 2019 from going forward. They were far too expansive, and they did not give the respect to the green space that was currently there within the Mandale area and on these private sites. So the first aim was to try and prevent that proposal going forward, and we did a little bit more than that. We didn't only just prevent it, we actually scrapped them plans. So we removed the initial plans that were brought forward. The second element was to ensure that we had the appropriate people to carry forward the vision of what we wanted for that space. So new architects were consulted and brought in to present a new plan going forward. In addition, we also noted that there was some space and land that was directly attached, which we needed to protect. The initial plan had over 100 houses were going to be directly placed on Mandale Meadow itself. So we have looked to remove the selling of that land so houses cannot be built on Mandale Meadow. In addition to that, we've removed all Middlesbrough Council land from any sale attached to this development. So the progress made there from the original plan and the original proposals are huge. In addition to that, I set what I would describe as some very, very unrealistic expectations of what we could potentially get from that space. And I don't say that lightly. I actually thought there were unrealistic expectations in relation to the green space, access to space, the fact that we're now finding we're getting more public access than what we currently have. And I set that challenge really to Ash, the executive for that, and the senior officers involved. And what has been brought forward far exceeds that expectation in terms of developing the land that is currently set and is miles away from what was originally presented. And that is a huge success for us as an executive. It's a huge success as for Ash as a regen. And I believe it's a huge success for the people of Mandale and the surrounding areas who fought and championed to have major changes made to those proposals. It once again shows that we will listen to people and we will take on their concerns and considerations. Moving forward, there was always going to be a new development that was going to be presented. It is natural for that to happen. It is private land that will be developed. A request that I also made was that no future developments can be authorised without a new full public consultation stage. And that was to totally dismiss all the other consultation papers and proposals and allow the public to once again get the facts and understand the position that the local authority finds itself in relation to this particular development. So this paper going forward is exactly that. It is an opportunity to present to the people the new ideas, the new approach going forward, and for people to be effectively and efficiently consulted with. I know that a lot of the residents in that area and a lot of the public felt that the last consultation was poorly managed, sometimes misled, and it was quite disrespectful in terms of the approach that was taken. So we've wanted to make sure that that is rectified for this particular project going forward. Now, I've said this because it is only fair to the local authority and officers and the exec member involved to highlight the progress that has been made from the original proposals and to say to everybody, moving forward, we need to be really objective with how we approach the process of consultations and ensuring that voices are heard. Now, all that being said, and whilst I've spoken really positively about where we are currently, and rightly and fairly so, I will be saying, and I do have to say, there's one challenge that remains for me. And I know my executive colleagues are fully aware of this. And the remaining challenge is the road that runs right through the site and the access point that is brought from Mandale Interchange. And moving forward, I think it's only fair that I share with the executive and the public that I will continue to challenge that proposal in relation to the report and hope that the people of Middlesbrough and the people of the surrounding wards will voice their concerns appropriately and effectively if they share that view too. So in all, I am really pleased with the paper that is brought forward and the consultation we're entering into. However, moving forward, I will be looking to effectively challenge the road and the proposals made on that part. So sorry for the time it's taken, Chair. Sorry for taking too much of the meeting in relation to that matter. I just feel it's relevant for the people who are directly involved to hear and understand that.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I mean, it is a very sensitive issue that a lot of people are very passionate about. So I think it's important that we give it enough time. And of course, this is all about the beginning of discussion, isn't it? This isn't about something that's happening. This is about the beginning of a discussion. So I think it's good. Thank you. Any other exec members wish to comment or speak? Okay, I think Dennis had his hand up first.
Thank you, Chair. I've had a look at the report and I'm pleased that we've got a new approach to it, and it is very exciting. I do mirror what Councillor High said about the road. As you know, in the past, we've had some problems on that field with travellers, and opening that road on the plan, I think, would be an invite to them again. We've also got a major problem with drug running through the area on motorbikes and quad bikes. We've established a new fence in the area, which has been installed with the council and a local community group that painted the fence and put some plants in there and trees. That's helped greatly stop that them motorbikes getting access to the meadow on the quad bikes. The installation of this road where it is, I fear we're opening that back up, and it'll spoil the green space that we've been left with blighted by motorbikes and quad bikes. I hope this is all considered in the consultation process, and we'll obviously address that with measures to sort it out. Thank you, Chair.
Hi, Chris. I think you wanted to speak as well. Is that right? Chris Hobson?
I think Mika was before me.
Apologies. Thank you for being polite, Chris. Mika, please go ahead.
Yeah, it was just a quick question. So obviously there's still a way to go with this, with the consultation still to happen. But if this is adopted, is it the developer that would be required to pay for the country park and for the community centre? Because we've kind of had our fingers burned with this in Numthorpe before, where we've been promised a community centre by a developer and it hasn't happened.
Ashley, do you want to clarify?
On this one, that the whole site is going to be planned and developed that way. It's going to be a planning consideration. It's going to be, we want it stuck to as close to the current plans. Actually, I think it's absolutely essential. I understand with Nunthorpe and what hasn't been delivered in the past, but we're a new executive and we want to make sure that these developers are fully on board with this idea. This has to be something that is absolutely stand out, and we want to maintain that and keep that standard and make sure that the things that we've promised are the things that we deliver with the developers, and we'll work hand in hand with them to make sure that this is one of the best housing sites in the northeast of England.
And I'll just add to what Ashley's just said there, just to clarify, is that what this is a document, a master plan, and it's basically saying that people who want to develop on that land would have to deliver, in line with our plans here, 25,000 trees, a mile of hedgerows, some wetlands for wildlife habitats, sports pitches, and other things. So this isn't something that the council will do, but saying if you want to build a bunch of houses, you can't just make 50 million quid then clear off back to London. You have to put something in that the whole community benefits from. Obviously, the sensitive bit here is not the hedgerows or the fruit orchards or the 25,000 trees or the wetlands or the sports pitches. The sensitive bit is the road, and that's the bit that the public's going to be keen to discuss with us. And Anthony and Dennis have both voiced legitimate concerns about that. So I think this is a really healthy process. Before Chris Hobson speaks, I just want to make it clear, if anybody tunes in or listens or watches this later on, just be aware, this isn't us saying this is happening. This is us saying, if someone's going to come to Middlesbrough and make millions of pounds building houses, this is the kind of quality we need. And what we're doing is we're sharing that idea with the public now before it becomes official, because you can help shape what we do. We promise to listen. And we promise that we want to preserve nature, we want to preserve wildlife, we want to build new houses, and we want to build new environments where families can play and cycle and see wildfowl on new waterways and things like that. And that's something that we want to share and discuss. This isn't about us saying this is happening. This is about us saying if someone wants to build houses, they're going to have to spend a lot of money creating a fantastic nature reserve, or well, actually officially a country park. Chris Hobson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a little bit similar to what you've said, Andy, really. The fact that this is private land, and to get them to actually accept the fact of what we want is amazing. So all I've got to do is say I praise the people who've put all the effort into this, because private developers come in and they tell you what they want to put there. So for them to work with us and to be able to get to this stage with a fantastic country park, and I do agree that the road is a problem, but the fantastic way that it's been set out, and people can see this now, can they, Mr. President, can they actually see plan of this now on?
I think it's public, or it's going public today. Yeah.
It's all right if it is public.
It's public.
Well, anybody interested in this, it is well worth a look, because there's so much effort gone into this to design it as a country park, and I just think it's a fantastic way to move forward, and hope that many, many more sites to do exactly the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Any other exec members with comments or questions?
I think, yeah, I just want to add in as well, there's something that I should have really said. The officers and the architects that we've been working with on this have just been absolutely fantastic. Everything that's been proposed, everything that's been suggested, they have absolutely took it on board and ran with it. And like I say, this is something for me that it's just something that is totally different for Middlesbrough. It's totally different for the Teesside area, and it's something that will absolutely be a standout development for Middlesbrough going forward. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. And before other councillors can speak, I'll just, the listener, I myself and all of the exec are completely 100% aware that there is sensitivity about the road, completely. And what I think the team, the staff, the architects have done really, really well is basically remove the idea of building houses on Mandale Meadow. That's gone, right? That's been taken off. And what has been proposed is a phenomenal community asset, but there is still a sensitivity about this access road. So that's the main thing we're going to be going out and discussing. And if you've got strong views, please get in touch. And I promise you, we will listen. Okay, thank you. I know Janet Thompson was keen to speak. Please go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, can I just ask Councillor Ashley Waters why you don't have your video on so people of Middlesbrough can see you? Thank you, Chair.
Ashley, I mean, I guess that's not really relevant, but you're welcome to answer it or ignore it. What do you want to do?
Happy to. The council equipment that I have doesn't allow me to play videos. As soon as I do, WebEx crashes. So I don't know whether it's down to an update or a problem with it. I've got fantastic internet, but as I load my video up, it crashes. So apologies that you can't see my lovely face today, but it is something that I'm working on, and I'll hopefully get it updated.
Okay. Ash, why don't you send all the councillors a new picture of yourself, and that way we won't need your video. We have a picture we have on our desks. Good plan?
Cheers, Andy.
Okay. Any other councillors wish to make a comment or a question?
Yes, Andy, I would like to, if possible.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that in future, that if anyone wants to build houses, you're going to say, yes, you can, but you must do blah, 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 blah. And I'd like to know when you decided that. Is it just now or the last few weeks or whatever? And the reason I'm asking that is because, as you know, we've lost a nice chunk of green space in my ward, and we've lost about 16 mature trees and lots of hedgerow that's 80, 90 years of age, and we're getting nothing environmentally back for that. And I made inquiries outside the council, and apparently we should have had an environmental report. Sorry, not environmental report, an ecological report presented whenever we're going to build on land like that, and there wasn't one presented. I also asked if we could have a TPO put on some of the trees. That wasn't acknowledged by anybody at all. So I'm really glad that you're going to do that, because Nunthorpe seems to be, excuse me, getting, how can I put it, not better treatment, but as if it counts for more than the rest of the town. In the centre of the town, we don't have any green spaces. We don't have lots of trees and lots of, where we can have a miniature country park. All I have in my ward is what's called the Black Path. Everybody knows it. It's about half a mile long, and it's been left to God and Providence for as long as I can remember. But finally, with some volunteers and some help from the council staff, we're getting it made into a nice little country walkway. But we've had no help from the council whatsoever. We've had to buy the bulbs ourselves, buy the plants ourselves, etc., etc. So I'm glad that in future now, if somebody wants to build some houses in Middlesbrough on green space, you were going to say yes, but you're going to set the rules, because it's high time it was done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joan. Yeah, I mean, basically, from the start, we all, I think in previous political regimes as well, that there has absolutely been input from officers where they've said, we really want your development to look this way, or we need you to use a higher quality brick or plant more trees. And I think that's always gone on. But I think we're upping that game now. What's different here is that how much leverage we have over developers. When you've got a really big site, potentially lots of profitable houses can be built. You've got a lot of financial leverage over the developer, so you can call the shots to some extent. When you're dealing with patches of land where there's less profit for the developer, the challenge is if you're too demanding, they just walk away. But absolutely, you know, your ward and where you live down in Beechwood, the people there deserve to be given the best housing, the best landscaping, the best everything. Everybody deserves that. And let's have another discussion on that. And let's look at, if you want more trees in your area, absolutely, and the Black Path. Can't promise to give you everything you want, Joan, but I promise we can talk about that. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Councillor McTighe. I think that there has been a big shift, but one thing I do see is councillors working well. So we have Mika Smiles engaging well with Nunthorpe. You mentioned Nunthorpe getting a lot. Mika is fighting for her residents to get these things, and I think it's really important that councillors are able to engage with the office and work well with them. So I think it's really brilliant that we're seeing these things. I think for getting things in your ward, bungalows have been requested, and it's something that we are looking to do. I think that the fact that we are working on getting that developed into the local plan and written in, so we do see something coming back into these wards. And I think it's a really fine balance that we make sure that we show that the developers that, yes, this is what we want, but we don't into business, we are willing to work with the developers. And I think it's something that should have always been done. And I think with our Mayor Preston having the plan to plant thousands of trees across Middlesbrough, we've seen that. I know personally in my ward, we've requested them, we've got them, and it is absolutely fantastic. So thank you for that.
That's great, thank you. Any other councillors wish to make a comment? Or...
Sorry, Andy, can I just have some clarification on something, please?
Yes.
Thank you for indulging me. At the last OSB meeting, Councillor McCabe said we could have some wildflowers for our wards. I asked for some and I was told, sorry, you can't have any, there's none available. Perhaps I'll have some clarification on that, because I spoke to you about wildflowers over a year ago and you did agree that, you know, it's cheap, it looks nice, it takes no looking after, and it does make an area look more inviting and more looked after. So can we have the wildflower seeds or can't we have the wild? Because if you can't have any, I'll buy them myself. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let Dennis answer, but before he does, I think the issue is that yes, there can be wildflowers in your ward, absolutely, but obviously it might be a question of timing. I'm sure that there was a limited number of spaces available to be done in the first round, which is happening for the spring. So it might be that you just missed out time-wise, but I'll let Dennis answer.
Thank you, Chair. Point of order, it's not the agenda, but I will make an inquiry for you, Councillor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll follow up on that, Joan. Thanks for your point. It's a good point by Dennis.
Sorry, Andy, I couldn't hear a word Councillor McCabe said. I'm sorry. So could you repeat it for me?
Yes, I can, yeah. What he said was it was as a point of order that we're going off tack and not discussing the actual issue at hand, which is Stainsby. And it isn't just your fault. I think the conversation has drifted that way. So I do think we should bring it back to the Stainsby master plan. But yes, absolutely. If you contact me about this, then I will get a conversation with me, you and Dennis. Okay, thanks, Joan. Any other questions from councillors who are present? Okay, so what we're going to do then is we are going to vote on the master plan, which I stress again to the public, does not mean that this is happening. The master plan is saying to potential developers down the line, if you want to come and build houses on these sites, you have to do it to this kind of quality, to have a serious discussion with us. But it's also the launch of a consultation process with the public. And if people love it or hate it, get in touch and I promise we'll listen. Do any members present disagree? Dennis, would you like to make a comment?
Sorry, to go off again, I've just been informed that wildflowers are on order, so wildflowers for a Christmas.
Okay, thank you, and we can just pick that up later. But to get back to the Stainsby master plan, do any exec members want to vote against the adoption of the master plan and the launch of a consultation process with the public where they can voice opinions that they love it, hate it, or are indifferent? Anybody want to vote against that? Does anybody want to abstain from that? Okay, so we're going to adopt the master plan and kick off a detailed, lengthy and productive discussion with the public on all aspects of the master plan. That's great, thank you. Next one is the overview and scrutiny board. I cannot see actually. Oh, Stephen Hill is going to present this. Is that right, Stephen? Please go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Afternoon, everyone. I'm going to assume members have read the report, so I've just got a brief summary to jog your memories. The main aim of the review was to ascertain whether effective and successful models of support were in place to both tackle the root causes of poverty and to mitigate the effects of disadvantage on education. The terms of reference for the review are detailed at paragraph 2 of the report. Throughout the review, the scrutiny panel received evidence from senior officers in children's services, public health, the Financial Inclusion Group, Middlesbrough Achievement Partnership, the Northern Housing Consortium, a number of voluntary and community sector organisations and local schools. The report's conclusions highlight that there is a need to deliver a more joined-up, collaborative and integrated approach to tackle poverty and promote social mobility, cutting across a wide range of areas, such as education, employment support, welfare, health and affordable housing. The report also highlights that further work is required to develop a partnership approach and a coherent strategy to ensure that poverty remains high up on the agenda for every organisation and to maximise the resources available across all sectors and agencies. The conclusions highlight the detrimental impact that poverty has on a child's long-term development and that the earliest years of life are a crucial period, and interventions during this period can have long-lasting benefits. The conclusions also state that early intervention services are likely to be more effective when they are combined with measures to reduce poverty. For instance, the creation of sustainable employment opportunities, or for those who won't benefit from employment, providing access to the benefits they're entitled to. Reference is also made to the effective support and services that the local authority and its partners are delivering to tackle poverty and mitigate its impact, and also the effective practices implemented by schools to support families living in poverty. The draft conclusions are detailed in full within the report at paragraph 129, and the report contains 9 recommendations, which can be found at paragraph 130. Thanks for listening to the summary, and I'm more than happy to commend it to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. That's great. Do any members of the exec have any questions or comments for Council? This is before Mika can give a response. Any questions or comments from the exec? Okay. Mika Smiles, would you like to present a response from the service?
Yeah, I can indeed. I want to thank... Oh, I've got a bit of feedback. Hear me okay? Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to thank Councillor Hill and the rest of the panel for this report. And obviously, like Councillor Hill set out, it sort of details the impact of poverty on education, and it's been looked at very closely indeed here. And there are some stark statistics in the report. One way of determining poverty in young people is to look at free school meal take-up, for example, and in Middlesbrough primary schools, it's 26.1%, whereas nationally it's 15.8%. And there's some really informative graphs there, one sort of showing the relationship between poverty and, for example, school readiness at age 5. I think a report like this really shows the importance of scrutiny, and the conclusions of the report have resulted in a number of actions that we as a local authority will take. And obviously this is more important than ever, given the impact that COVID will have on jobs and prosperity in the town and also on education. I've also found the report interesting because it details what a number of our different schools are doing to close the gap. And there's some really great examples. I'm sure you've all heard of eco shops where parents can go along and they can buy 10 items of food for £2. There's breakfast clubs going on that are free of charge and low cost after school clubs, which all helps. So in summary, I suppose I just want to accept the findings and the resulting actions. And once again, I really thank you for this report.
Okay, thank you. Any exec members want to comment on Mika Smiles' response on behalf of the service? Okay. Okay, that's great. So in that case, what we'll do, thank you to Stephen and Mika. We're going to have a vote on the scrutiny panel's final report and the response to the action plan. Does anybody vote against it on the action plan? Vote against the action plan? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, that's all votes for. That's great. Thank you. So that's point 13 done with. And point 14, I'm guessing, is going to be the discussion of the refuse. Sylvia, if you're still on the line, I can't see it written down, but I guess that's point 14. Is that right?
Yes, Chair. It's
Okay,
on the
great.
residual waste collections, and it's for Councillor McCabe.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Dennis, again, if you could present the item we brought forward at short notice to talk about the refuse collections.
Thank you, Chair. The report is to note that the executive have decided after lengthy discussion that Middlesbrough isn't ready for a fortnightly collection. Extra funds were found, and after lengthy, long debate and discussion between all the executives over several meetings, it was decided to remove the executive decision or reverse the executive decision, the fortnightly bin collections. And in this, we're going to bring in an educational programme over the next 12 months to educate the people in Middlesbrough to increase their recycling rates before we start this fortnightly collection. And this will only go ahead if we can substantially increase our recycling rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Now, I'll just add to that is that going to weekly collections, to fortnightly collections, wasn't something that any of us really wanted to do. What we wanted to do, what we had to do, was save money so we could fund other vital services. And what we had to do was find a way of reducing our carbon footprint and upping our recycling rates. None of the exec were really keen. I mean, I think until the last minute, on the morning, I think I had a chat with Anthony High, and he was unsure as to which way to vote. And I think a lot of people felt the same way. But out of necessity, we voted to go fortnightly. As more clarity over our finances and discussions got going, we found that we could actually, in the short term, definitely continue to fund a weekly collection. What's also important is that due to COVID, across the whole country, there's been a much higher use of takeaways. There's much more rubbish lying around in the streets. There's much more fly tipping because of mild winters as well. And related to the other points, there's been a proliferation of rats across the country. It became clear that Middlesbrough really isn't ready to do this. And some areas would handle it well, and some areas would handle it really badly. So mainly on behalf of the areas that will handle it badly, we're going to work with everyone. We're going to up our recycling rates. We're going to establish targets and put them out publicly in the next 3 weeks and introduce a range of measures that will benefit the whole community. So we're on a mission to reduce our carbon footprint, on a mission to reduce our recycling rates, but Middlesbrough isn't ready for a fortnightly connection. So we want everybody here to note the fact that we are undoing that previously agreed difficult decision. Any exec members who wish to comment?
Yes, please.
Okay, you go first, Ashley, then Dorothy.
Yeah, I just think that this decision obviously was really difficult for all of us to come to in the first place, but it was out of necessity, as you've said. I think the really important thing that we need to share here is the scrutiny that went on with this. And one thing I'm really proud to be a part of is this executive. We scrutinised each other. This wasn't a single meeting. This wasn't something that was done really quickly or ill thought out. We scrutinised each other to the nth degree on this one, and it wasn't something that we all agreed on or got on with. But I think it was a really important thing for this executive, and the way we handled it and the way that we did come to this decision. I think it was really, really important. And I'm really proud, like I said, the way that we did scrutinise each other on this.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. That's a good point. Dorothy, next, please.
Yes, I was going to say something similar to what Archie's just said. But I would also like to talk about recycling. And I know Dennis has said in the past that it's possible for people to have 2 recycling bins. And I think that that is a way forward, because sometimes my recycling bin is absolutely full to the brim when it's collected fortnightly. I'm not going to request a second one, but I'm sure people with a family who need an extra recycling bin can actually now get one. Am I correct, Dennis?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, upon request, if anybody needs an extra blue, they can be provided with an extra blue bin. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other exec members? Anthony, please.
I think the final point to make, Andy, is the fact that as an executive, and it was evident in the Stainsby discussion, we do listen to the people of Middlesbrough. And even when decisions are made, we continue to work tirelessly to make sure that if there's an alternative option that is better for the town, then we're open to adapt our approach. You know, we're not a one size fits all executive, and no matter how sensitive or how difficult discussions are on any topic, we will look to push it to the 11th hour if needed to try and get the best outcome for Middlesbrough. And I think it's critical that the people of the town know that, because that's what they voted for in the last elections. They wanted an executive that listened to the town and carried forward the sense of Middlesbrough coming first.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think what's really important to get across is that none of us are scared of changing our minds. And if some people want to criticise and call that a U-turn or I don't know, whatever, chickening out or whatever the phrase is, I personally, I couldn't give a monkey's. What's important to me is that we do the right thing. And when there's new information, we reserve the right to change our minds. And so I think, well done, everyone. I know the town is very grateful. We can't promise it lasts forever, but I promise we will try and make it last forever. And the challenge for us is to keep finding the money and to get our recycling rates up. Yeah, great. I know Janet's been waiting for a while. Please go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, can I just say a big thank you to can I just say a big thank you to somebody got the mic? Bit echoey. I'd just like to say thank you to the Mayor for listening to the people, and the outcome of the consultation was that people didn't want this. So thank you and well done for doing and listening and sticking to the fortnightly refuse collections. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, I don't believe we have to vote on this. I think it's just a note, isn't it, Sylvia? So I assume
No,
all the
you do have to vote, Chair.
Excuse me. Right. Okay. So do any of the exec members wish to vote against this this plan?
Mr.
Please
Preston,
please don't say yes. You do vote against it.
Mr. Preston, can I make a comment, please?
Yes, you can.
Thank you very much. It's 2 comments, actually. First of all,
please be quick,
with
John.
regard to the extra bins.
Sorry to interrupt, John. Sorry to interrupt. Just please let me finish. Please be brief and keep them on point. Thanks.
I'll be as brief as I can. With regard to the extra bins, they have been available for years now. It's just that the council didn't advertise the fact. And obviously, you cannot recycle enough. So I put a suggestion forward that when our litter pickers go out, those will go out in pairs, have one pick up anything that's recyclable, and have the other pick up anything that isn't. And that way, you're going to produce more recycling. I put that suggestion forward to Councillor McKay, but he didn't answer me. So I'm putting it forward to you now. Why can't we do that or try it?
Okay,
Please.
I can't give. So the first question, thank you. I can't give you a very clear answer, but my gut feel is that there will be varying amounts of stuff that's recyclable and non-recyclable, and also most litter is going to be non-recyclable. So I'm not sure that would work very well. I'm sure if we had endless staff, we could do it. But because staff and wages are very limited due to financial constraints, I'm not sure that would work. But happy to consider it. I'm sure Jeff Field is tuned in and listening, and can get back to both of us. And what was the next point?
I'm sorry to disagree with you, but most litter is recyclable material. I've been litter picking here for donkey's years, and it's mostly recyclable material. And can you ask Councillor Hyde if you'd like to share the joke, please? You'd like to share the joke?
I won't, but we'll privately afterwards. Privately afterwards, I will ask Anthony to share the joke. But obviously on here,
I would like to discuss recycling with you privately, please.
Of course, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, exec. So we're going to have to vote on accepting the new plan to retain the weekly bin collections. Does anybody want to vote against that? Against retaining the weekly? Does anybody want to abstain? Okay, that's carried. We retain the weekly collection service and focus on some recycling ideas and plans. There aren't any other formal points to bring up. Any other relevant business that exec members would like to raise? Anything relevant? It has to be relevant from other councillors who are present. Okay, great. Well, listen, just please to everyone, please embrace my genuine best wishes for the holiday. Anybody who's here in the meeting or looks at it afterwards, you probably shouldn't. It's Christmas. You should spend time with family or friends or do something else. Please have a great time. Please keep safe and